Look at this. This is fancy. Ooh, and heavy too. Today I'm going to be pitting the Copic Airbrush system against an actual airbrush. Now, obviously, this is going to be more appealing to more sort of artist-like people who watch this channel because more of you are going to actually have Copic markers or something compatible with the Copic Airbrush system and probably not have much need for an actual airbrush. But I've always wondered what the difference is and what you would use this for that this can't do, or what this might do better than this. So I'm gonna put them directly up against one another and we'll see what comes out on top. As I'm sure you're aware, the best way to decide which is a more useful tool is to literally fight to the death. To do that properly, I actually purchased these toys. We're gonna paint one of them with the Copic airbrush and one of them with the airbrush, and then these toys will fight to the death because you control with the remote control. So let's start off with something we're more familiar with. Okay, cool. And that is surprisingly effective. Like, that's pretty cool. So let's say with the orange, for example, if I want to cover a large area, usually you got a bit of that going. But if you wanted to use that color to cover a wider area and actually not waste too much ink, the airbrush system is a cool way to do that. As you can see, you start off lighter and you can build it up over time and in layers. But one of the areas where I'm assuming this is going to fall short is with detail. I'm going to start off wide and I'm going to work my way into detail and see how fine we can get here. So we're getting a little bit of sputtering, and in the detail, it's not that consistent or smooth. And as you can see, there's a lot of spray. So let's compare. Let's just see how this goes, shall we? We start off with red. Nothing. No, wait. Okay. So when you push down, no paint comes out until you pull back and push down. So this gives you a huge amount of control. So if I pull back a little bit, look at that, I've got a tiny bit. And if I'm further back and then pull further back, all the way back, I can get like a really dark area. Oh, that's so cool. But if I want to go really detailed, I get close. Oh, wow. I mean, that's cool. They're gorgeous, vivid colors, and they go down really smooth. We're going to do a little bit of line work. All right. Obviously, my experience with this leaves a lot to be desired, but I'm going to gain a lot more experience with this through the course of painting a couple of figures. We'll see which of them is more useful and practical and powerful by the end of this video. Now, speaking of useful and practical and powerful, this video is sponsored by Blackmagic. I mean, I film with Blackmagic cameras, I use their monitors, but most importantly, I edit all of my videos with their editing program, DaVinci Resolve, which you can get for free. So whether you're looking to make YouTube content or edit stream content, whether you want to make cinematic films and trailers or really simple vlogs, DaVinci Resolve is certainly the thing you're going to want to check out. Now, obviously being a professional YouTuber, all the fancy features really appeal to me, but they have an entire tab called the Cut page, which is like the super simple, quick, easy, and amazing version of the whole program for people who are looking to just edit their streams or vlogs without all the complications. My favorite thing about DaVinci Resolve is the color grading, which I use in every video, and I just love how powerful it is, but also how simple and fun it is to use to make your videos really pop. Go check out DaVinci Resolve. The link is in the description. It's completely free and it's insanely powerful. The vision of the guys who run Blackmagic and DaVinci Resolve is to open up and make available video editing and production to everyone. And that's you guys. And go check it out today and empower yourself in your creative journey in making incredible content, big or small. I'm gonna take these toys, I'm gonna paint them in a white matte undercoat base, and each of them is gonna be painted in its entirety by one of these systems. So I'm gonna sink my teeth into reinventing those toys as vibrant and exciting characters with these coloring systems, and then after that, we're gonna see which one is the rightful winner, of course, by fighting to the death. What? Sorry, just quick interruption to the epic montage. So in our fight to the death, this thing has a distinct advantage over this, which is not remote control. You have to turn him on in the butt, And then you have to pick a mode. Stop! I don't think this one's going to be very good to fight to the death with. So I'm going to go to the toy shop and get another one of these. All right, now we're in business. Get him to hold a razor. Wait, did you do that?
I did that.
You did that.
I'm sorry. Press that.
Let's paint these babies up. So I started with Robot 1 using the Copic Airbrush system, and I got the idea pretty quickly that these things do not give me a lot of accuracy. I mean, to be fair, the airflow was consistent, the ink went down a treat, but whenever I wanted to avoid edges or control the size of the spray area, well, it just simply wasn't an option, and it did make things quite difficult at times. Now, with the Copic Airbrush being alcohol inks, there was no bringing value back after I put down any dark colour. So essentially, I had to paint from light to dark, and when it was dark, there was no coming back. This and the accuracy issue are definitely the biggest drawbacks to the Copic Airbrush system, but knowing them and being prepared to work around them, I just got stuck into the process, and I have to say, it was super easy and fun to immerse myself in the painting process. Knowing that the colours layer and their tones, I left blank areas while painting the yellow for where the orange would go down, because even though the yellow is light, it would make the orange look darker in tone than I wanted if I laid the orange down on the yellow instead of just the blank white areas. And I wanted the colours to be as vibrant as possible. Now, I've got to hand it to the Copic Airbrush system. What it lacks in accuracy and the ability to layer flexibly, it really makes up for in how great the colours look when they're used right and how simple and fun they are to use and swap around. I mean, if you're okay to go over the edges and don't mind the occasional spatter or splurt of colour, these things are a lot of fun to use and they can look really cool. Okay, now on to the airbrush. The airbrush. And this is going to be a pretty frustrating thing for people to watch who know how to use actual airbrushes as well, because it took me an hour to get the thing going consistently, and it was not the airbrush's fault. It was 100% my fault. Now, I know I make jokes about how I throw away instruction manuals, and I certainly know I would learn a lot more efficiently if I read some guides or took some lessons, but here's the thing. I am a kinesthetic learner. Basically, that means I naturally learn. I'm engaged in learning when I use my hands to figure things out. My brain shuts off when I read manuals or I listen to people tell me how to do stuff. Video tutorials help me out, but even so, I need to use my hands to learn. And the best way for me to personally understand how to use the airbrush was to experience every way I shouldn't use the airbrush and get to the right way by process of elimination. So for an hour or so, I mixed and remixed paints to figure out the right consistency. I pulled the entire airbrush apart over a dozen times. I washed parts and reconstructed, got it working, and started the process again. And when I hit another stumbling block, I pulled it apart again. The result was, after an hour of doing it the dumb way, I started painting the model with a level of understanding I felt I really earned. In the end, I figured out how to load, clean, use, and unclog the airbrush by sheer brute force. And I know it's not the intelligent way to do it, but frankly, I find it way more stimulating. And once I finally got working with the airbrush, the process was really satisfying. The serious airbrush system was incredibly powerful. I mean, I still use it like a drunk toddler, but even so, the immediate access to fine accuracy as well as both quality and quantity of spraying was so cool to have at my fingertips and ready to learn and figure out how to use. Another perk I discovered is that any acrylic paint or ink at the right viscosity would work with this tool, which meant I could use my Warhammer metallic paints in this thing to make the machine parts of the robot look super schmick. And boy, did it look schmick. Now, as accurate as this tool is capable of being, I am a pretty inaccurate tool. So I did take the cheater's way out by taping over my gold mechanical parts to put some color down on the rest. But this is certainly one of those aspects that totally trumps the Copic Airbrush system. You can fill a huge area with paint without using much of it or it costing much. It's super fast and super smooth, and man, it just looks and feels so good. Now, unlike painting with the inks, you can layer from dark to light with acrylics because it's just acrylic paint. So I could lay down light blues as the main color on top of the base coat of purple to give the shading some real pizzazz and a mixture of hues. By the end, I was comfortable enough with the airbrush that I was willing to try something a little more detailed and complex, painting lightning all over the robot. Now, this is where my lack of experience really shows. I have plenty to learn, but the fact that 70% of the time I felt I had some decent control and could lay down some cool detail and patterns was pretty encouraging for a first-time user. I did go easy on myself for the very last bit and just drew the actual lightning down with a white paint pen, and flaws aside, I certainly learned a lot about using an airbrush on my first try. Both that I have a lot more to learn to get good, that it's a lot harder than it looks, but also that when you can get it working well enough for what you need, the process is super fun and the results are incredibly satisfying. I've been airbrushing for days now, and I guess you could say that I've airbrushed up my skills a little bit. So I'm going to introduce the final results one by one and just share a little bit of my final verdict about the painting experience. Starting off with a character I like to call Spitfire. Painting with the Copic Airbrush system was surprisingly good and super convenient. I mean, this is just magic. And it worked with my my Copic sketch markers, so I could use my whole arsenal of colors. Didn't have to worry about mixing or what I had. I knew I had the colors I wanted to use. But if you look in too closely at the paint job, you can tell there are some sputters and some flecks, and the general gradients and mixing are not very smooth. But from a distance, it looks great and the colors really pop. So I think this definitely is a contender for one of the top ways of airbrushing. But is it actually the best way of airbrushing, or is just, you know, airbrushing? Whichever is the best is going to be a matter of opinion, of course, depend on the job. But in this case in particular, I'm interested in your thoughts as Spitfire compares to a character I like to call Thunderbolt. I mean, it's hard to beat a classic, and the classic airbrushing, it turns out, is very reliable and super clean looking, but really finicky and complicated and really difficult to be good at compared to the Copic Airbrush. The only objective way to find out which comes out on top is a battle. Gareth, come here, my man. Oh, go. Quick, attack!
My thing's not moving!
Attack!
Ah!
Attack! So here are the rules. If you push the opponent off the table, that counts as one win. First to 3 is the ultimate winner. But before we actually jump into the fight, I think we got to do this like WWE style with a bit of a grand entrance. Yeah, he agrees.
In the right corner, he's hot and ready to make you feel the burn. Here's Spitfire! And in the left corner, you may have seen the lightning or heard the thunder, but you've never felt anything like Thunderbolt!
All right, round one. 3, 2, 1, go! Don't come back, don't go off the table. Where are you going? No!
All right, that's 1 out of 3.
Round 2. 3, 2, 1, go!
Wait.
I said go!
No, he's not. He's not doing it. My little guy.
Yes, do it!
No,
Come on!
it's not moving.
Keep going, No. I'm back, baby! Yes! No! This is still round 2.
All right,
No, that's a loss for both of us.
Okay.
The rule is if you fall off the table, that's a loss. I've got 2 wins, you've got 1.
Was it first 2, 3?
First to 3.
All right. Stop faffing around. Let's do this.
3, 2, 1.
No! All right, last round.
Yeah, last one.
Okay, last round.
Winner
All
of
right.
this wins. 3, 2, 1, go! Oh no, I just moved the head up. Yeah!
I win.
But I was winning everything else up until that one. So shall we call it a draw?
It's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
And the friends you make along the way.
Oh, wait.
Shh, quiet you. This is the first time in my life I think that's about it for this video, don't you? I think it's time to wrap up. Is it Spitfire or Thunderbolt? Go vote in the poll, let us know what you think. Another big thank you to Blackmagic for sponsoring this video and making it possible. All those amazing reveals and sexy dance shows and all that stuff made in Resolve, filmed with Blackmagic cameras and edited and color graded in DaVinci Resolve. So go check out DaVinci, it's free and amazing. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit like and subscribe for more fun with art and creativity. There are more videos over on Gareth that you might enjoy. He's holding everything up for me at the end of this video. But otherwise, that's it for now. And until next time, I'll see you later.